a system that is robust and resilient and serves the purpose of a certain token ecosystem or a certain, let's say, incentives in terms of DeFi, loan systems, trading systems, data systems, this is way harder. It's actually a tough nut to crack. And we decided to shape our own learning program. This is TE Academy. We went live in 2022 with the first bachelor level program we call Token Engineering Fundamentals, TE Fundamentals. And today we have more than 3,700 students enrolled in our program, a mix of backgrounds when it comes to students, economics, computer science, engineering, data science, and math. Students from all across the globe, 21 time zones, and already 1,000 exams passed at TE Academy. And our vision, what we started with, is that we see the huge potential, the huge opportunity to build new forms of economies that are truly global, permissionless, resilient, fair, and transparent. So this is a big opportunity in crypto. And token engineering is this combination of computer science, game theory, engineering, AI, data science, plus the human layer like behavioral economics, political science, DAOs, decision making, and more. And our mission at TE Academy is to establish this new field, token engineering, as a discipline in its own right, to create and offer education as public goods, and to also experiment with cryptoeconomic primitives to prove knowledge and expertise. And we'll get to this topic later in this call. Our values are, it's about the people, give and get, free education and creativity, not curriculum. And I think we had a lot of fun in the last 2 years at TE Academy, and we also have such a lot of freedom in shaping our program and also in designing and developing this discipline together. We focus on people and people interaction with our new cohort-based program, but also from the very first course. It's important that we bring together people from different disciplines, cross-disciplinary collaboration, from different backgrounds, with their perspectives on how token systems should work, on how economic incentives can be shaped, how permissionless systems can be shaped. And that's why any single student matters a lot at the Token Engineering Academy, and we invest a lot in enabling and fostering networking between students and practitioners, researchers, between people from different study backgrounds, and more. Give and get is also important. Knowledge and education is not a zero-sum game. Instead, we share knowledge, we grow knowledge, and this is an important aspect. Our courses are public goods, freely accessible without fees, online program to make our educational offerings available anywhere on the globe. Public goods, free education, and the last one, creativity, not curriculum. So we designed a new learning program that we call Study Season, and Octopus and Mark will be on board for this program. And the freedom to shape our own courses when it comes to content, but also when it comes to how we teach and who we teach, and enabling cross-disciplinary collaboration is super important to us. And actually, I think this enthusiasm and this passion for teaching is something we share, Mark, Octopus, me. And this was actually our starting point when we first met. I don't know, Octopus, if you want to add some thoughts here. I pause for a moment with my slides.
Yeah, I was a tenured professor until 18 months ago, and I really enjoy being in the classroom. I haven't taught in a while. I'm excited to do it again. And one of the things I enjoyed about teaching was actually what I would learn from interacting with the students. and the ideas that they would bring, even in something like calculus, where it's a well-established subject and I have lots of experience with it, people would push me to think of new perspectives. With something like cryptocurrency and token engineering, it's even more for me to learn because there are, it's not as well established a subject and there are new ideas that are emerging and new challenges that are coming in all the time. So I'm extremely excited to be interacting with students again and to look at these topics with them and share what we all know.
And I think one of the, like, I remember our first conversation, Andrew, when we discussed this question that pops up whenever we launch a new program. Do I have to be able to code as a token engineer, or do I have to, well, master advanced math?
Well, I have thoughts on that. I'm used to dealing with math phobic people, and in my experiences in the university, we developed ways that, yes, you do have to understand some principles, but that shouldn't be scary. There are things that anyone can learn, I feel, and our goal is to make them accessible in a way that makes them useful to people.
And actually, what I remember from the first program we have been collaborating on, Octopus, the Gitcoin quadratic funding exploration, it was so useful to have, like, we had data scientists there, we had engineers there, we had people from DAO, public goods funding there, and their different perspectives on what should the quadratic funding achieve and how to verify if results are good or if they are flawed was so super valuable.
We're going to try to do more with numbers than just make them go up.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think this is a good starting point for you, Mark, right? Because I think, yeah, something around the the right, taking the right metrics into account, exploration of mechanisms we all feel we know and that are like well known in DeFi, and then start questioning it or start exploring it was something, yeah, that was very relevant from the very beginning, right?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so when I think Andrew and I first met each other, it was via a mutual friend, Vasily Sumanov, who was the leader of the PowerPool project, and this was during the I think the Balancer Labs funded sort of study sessions during that period,
Mhm.
and this was a relatively in-depth exploration of the mathematics behind AMMs and how these exchange mechanisms are implemented and used and what their effects are. And I think a lot has changed since 2020, but at the same time, sort of nothing's changed. I think one of the problems that we have in cryptocurrency, and this is something that I try to write about a lot, is that research and marketing efforts are often conflated with each other. And it means that there's often an extremely mixed, confused, even structure to the way that information is presented and digested by others. And one of the things that I'm hyper aware of is that whereas the traditional sort of academic environment would have something like an editorial process, a you know a record of research that's been vetted by other people. In cryptocurrency, what you have instead is kind of a lot of self-published white papers and things like that, which is totally fine. Obviously, the white paper approach has been extremely important, but it does mean that there is it can be difficult to discern, credible works from hubris, if we can call it that. And so, yeah, the approach that I tried to take, as we did in 2020, and what I'm trying to double down on now, is to provide people with let's say the necessary knowledge in order to be critical of new white papers on their own. And one of the things that is speaking a little to what Angela and Octopus have just mentioned is that it does require you to understand things like calculus, and these can be difficult subjects for some. I think even the name is terrifying, but they're not. It's not a difficult thing to do, and I think that for most, they may have had like a very particular experience in high school or maybe earlier in their undergraduate mathematical career where these concepts have been presented in a way that was maybe not, let's say, not engaging, but also made more difficult than it had to be. And I think that there has been a revolution, in the way that mathematics has been presented over the last few years, led by people like Grant Sanderson from 3 Blue 1 Brown and Black Pen Red Pen on YouTube and so on, where it has been shown that one, there is an enormous market appetite for highly sophisticated, advanced mathematical learning, and two, that these concepts actually are attainable by anyone, right, regardless of your background. A lot of people find it surprising that I actually don't have any formal mathematical training myself. I studied nothing but chemistry in my undergraduate and postgraduate career, and everything that I do today with these mathematical models is essentially self-taught. And I say that not to not to hold myself up as an example necessarily, but to say that I come in with no advantage, and so people that are maybe it's been a decade or so since the last time they opened a mathematics textbook, that shouldn't be a deterrent at all. I think the only thing that's required is one, good instruction, and that's where I'm trying to take my responsibility to token engineering as seriously as I can. Two, having good resources, and I'm spending a lot of time producing very in-depth content for the lecture series that I'll be presenting for token engineering. And then three, just the commitment and perseverance to see it through. So I'm very I'm very excited and committed to the goals of these study programs, and I'm looking forward to seeing our pupils get started on day one.
Awesome. And this is a great introduction to the study season. Now it's here again. Okay. Yeah, this is our new program. We've opened registrations just yesterday, the Token Engineering Academy study season in 2024, running from April to July. And this is a cohort-based program. And our motto is share, learn, grow. Let me show you some key dates. Registrations open since yesterday. We'll kick off all the learning sessions in April 25. From April 26 to June 10th, we are offering learning sessions. We offer and just putting together the studying program, expect 3 to 7 sessions per week. However, students are free to select the sessions based on your individual learning goals. As I mentioned, we have students from multiple backgrounds, and also our bachelor course is covering the total token engineering process, where you need different strength in different phases of the process. At the very beginning, it's about requirements engineering. We have to be able to understand, define stakeholders, their motivations in a token system, ways to incentivize them. This is perfect for people with a product background, with a Web 2 background. Then we have the design of algorithms. This is then Marv translating a concept, an idea of a mechanism into a mathematical specification. Next, we'll have verification of a mechanism design. And we are using Python, we are building a model, we'll program simulations. And then at the fifth module is governance and token-based governance, which is how can we build these new organizations based on tokens. So you see, we'll cover a broad set of perspectives and steps in the token engineering process, and the kickoff session will support students in defining their learning goals, selecting the sessions, and then put together their own learning program with the option to mint NFTs at the very end. This will be around June 10, where we have exams weeks and proofs of knowledge minted. And we'll also launch a fellowship program, more in a moment, and we'll be at the EFCC conference again in 2024, where we'll host a token engineering track day, a full day of sharing talks and knowledge at the EFCC stage. And it will be again a great opportunity to meet the token engineering crowd in real life and gain value from the talks.
I heard such wonderful things about last year, by the way.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it was an experiment, first time, and it was super successful. People lining up because the space was too small. Now we have 4 times the space, I think, and super excited for it.
Right.
Okay, so number 1, learn. So open for anyone. You can register now, and tokenengineering.net, this is our webpage, and sign up. And from that, we'll prepare you and get you ready with materials shared. And then end of April, we start with learning sessions. The second part of the motto is share. So we've invited a number of really cool speakers to come with sessions. It's Sherman Fortengier. She just published a book about token design thinking framework to design token systems with case studies, and she'll run sessions and will explore case studies with Sherman. Then Trent McConaughey, founder of Ocean Protocol, will share more about Predictor and their latest token engineering update for Ocean Protocol. Super successful over the past couple of weeks. And he also, by the way, he first mentioned token engineering. So he was someone who was driving this discipline from the very first days. And it's also exciting to see the Ocean token journey, like from a founder first-hand experience. This will be the topic of Trend session. Octopus and I will design a voting mechanism together with the students. Not only design it, we will start with the requirements and end with running a voting and having a result, more in a minute. And Mark will also provide a session on AMM design. And I'll pause here again and hand over the mic to you. I'd say, Mark, to maybe share a little bit more about what you plan.
Yeah, sure. I've been putting together what I call a concentrated liquidity paint by numbers. I'm not committed to this title right now. I'm still playing with it, but I still think that it does a good job of communicating what it's for. The motivation behind it was kind of what I referred to before, which is that over the last few years, we've had a large number of different, let's say, iterative advancements on exchange mechanisms as they relate to the decentralized exchange infrastructure. And if you had been there for those things, what is required of you to stay up to date is relatively minimal. So if you were there, for example, from 2017 and had seen the iterations with Banter v1 and Balancer and Uniswap v1 and Uniswap v2 and all of these sort of progressive iterations, Banter v2 up to Uniswap v3 and so on. The amount that it requires you to understand after you've already had some experience with some of the previous designs is minimal. But if you're a newcomer to the space right now, there is an enormous amount to catch up on. And the problem is that there aren't really any good resources, in my opinion, that do a good job of handling the introduction, not just to the concepts of these things, but actually the nuts and bolts of the mathematics that define them. Often what you will find is that, and this is, I'm not critical of this, but in some of the best white papers, the skill of the author is often to write their concepts down in the most concise way possible. And all disciplines have this problem, which is that the efficiency of the language and notation that is invented to communicate it also makes those concepts exclusive. And if you are in cryptocurrency, it is worth acknowledging that the idea of the permissionless and trustless nature of the products that are built on top of it is contingent on the fact that the people who are interacting with those things understand what they are and how they work, right? It doesn't make any sense to say that this is a permissionless and trustless system if the people that are using it have to trust that the mathematics and implementation is sound, and that they're unable to audit that for themselves. And so I think that there is a responsibility that project founders and leaders have to make sure that there is a wealth of extremely high quality material that is focused exclusively on developing people's understanding of those systems, and much less on selling those systems, or selling the token or something like that. And so what I'm doing is to basically take the opposite approach to a white paper and really unpack every single step. So rather than say, and this is very common, someone will have they'll have an equation up, and they'll say, and via this process we arrive at this equation. And if and even though an expert in the field would be totally comfortable with that kind of presentation, or even prefer that presentation, people that are trying to investigate those things on their own might find it a bit of a leap to connect those two dots. And so the material that I'm creating at the moment, it actually goes through the exhaustive process of sketching out each one of those steps for you, so that if you hadn't been able to arrive at that rearrangement or draw that conclusion for yourself, that there is kind of a step-by-step guide on how to perform those algebraic manipulations, or how to perform that specific analysis in order to arrive at that result on your own. The other thing that I'm doing is pointing out the redundancy. And like, this isn't, I don't mean redundancy in a negative way. I just mean that there are many ways that that the concentrated liquidity paradigm can be expressed mathematically. And none of those ways are necessarily better than any other, but they are specific to the systems that they describe, and are sort of inspired by, or at least speak to, the implementation decisions that are made at the smart contract level. So there is a lot of room for discussion here about why concentrated liquidity might look different in different contexts. Explore the algebra and calculus of arriving at very specific identities, and then discuss why reparametrizing or choice of certain variables makes sense in certain systems designs, where it might actually challenge other systems designs. And I think that this is an extremely good place to begin when it comes to an audience like the one that I'm expecting at Token Engineering Academy, because I think a lot of developers just assume that there is one set of equations that should describe a concentrated liquidity system, and then kind of shoehorn in their own systems design around an equation that is badly suited to describe it, rather than beginning from a first principles approach, which is to let the mathematics describe the system that you are creating, and then use that reparametrized version, or that refactored version of the math, rather than you sort of refactoring a code base that would do far better if the equations that you're using to describe it were sort of intrinsically linked to the way that the code is written or the way that the system is designed. So yeah, it will be long, right? This is not a this isn't something that you can do in an afternoon. I've discussed it, and I think it's going to be something like 5 hours of lecture material, and the lectures will be dense. But there will be plenty of written documentation around it. I'm hoping for like a single long document that we can treat something like a textbook, and that will essentially form the curriculum and help to structure the lecture series as we go. So if you have often wondered, why the Uniswap V3 equation appears the way it does, whereas, for example, the Banker V2 or the Carbon DeFi concentrated liquidity equations appear completely different, but still represent the same mathematical object, and why that's so important in a smart contract and systems design perspective, then this is the talk that I think you've been waiting for. And even if you don't want to attend the lectures, I will make sure that all of the written material and probably even the lecture slides are available and distributed, so that you can catch up on it whenever you want to. But yeah, this is it's something that's very important to me. It's always been very important to me, and I think it's largely overdue. And so I'm really happy to have this opportunity to work with TokenEngineering and bringing it to fruition.
Yeah, and we are happy to have you on board too, Mark, because this is perfectly in line with what we envision in A, further developing the discipline, and B, further developing the total sector. Because as you mentioned, this is relevant for developers, for the implementation of a mechanism. This is relevant even for those who are discussing an update in a protocol. So this is also about informed decision-making in implementing new incentives, AMMs, in a protocol, and even for verification or risk management. This is another point. We had a lot of conversation going on over the past weeks on how to better shape risk management, how to equip people in DAOs, decision makers in DAOs with the right skills. And at the same time, there are questions about loyalty, service providers, skin in the game, as opposed to purely hire consultants to tell a DAO what decision to take, and also the risk involved. And finally, of course, this is relevant for any token investor to be able to see and understand what's proposed here, not only in terms of a wider scope and the great opportunity, but also when it comes down to the math of a certain algorithm. So I'm very glad to have this in our study season program, and also for the students to be able to mint a proof of knowledge at the end and prove their newly acquired knowledge, and make sure we grow the number of people with the right expertise in crypto. And this is only one series of sessions you can expect. So let's take a look at the slides again, because there's more. Part of the study season is that we'll have the first fellowship grant awarded to the best token engineering researcher or practitioner that not only is awarded for past work, but also for sharing his or her knowledge in the study season. So fellowship candidates will apply with the session proposal to share their knowledge with students. And as a student, you can expect to meet 3 to 5 fellowship candidates and can take part in their learning sessions. And the fellowship, the ultimate decision who should receive the fellowship grant, is then made by the community. And we'll, for the purpose of taking this decision, we'll develop our own voting mechanism where we make expertise, track record, and achievements count. Meaning will develop a mechanism that is not only token-based or token-gated, where you hold a certain number of tokens and then you gain more voting weight. Instead, it's about what you already achieved in token engineering. Meaning for students, it's what NFT certificates you already have acquired from completing TE fundamentals, from completing past courses, or for authors or speakers in our events. These people and these wallet or NFT holders will have a certain voting weight in the decision making who should receive the fellowship. And this is an exciting experience because we want to make it part of the study season program. So as a student, you can take the full journey from coming up, putting together the requirements, the specification for such a voting algorithm. We'll explore what we want to achieve, what we want to avoid, how we want to integrate the weight of a decision maker in the voting mechanism. Then we take the next step with designing the algorithm and then run simulations to make sure we have the best parameter setting, the best weights assignments, the best ways to, avoid edge cases. And then we'll even implement this voting mechanism in the Optimism network and run the voting and have an outcome, and we'll have a hopefully very happy fellowship grant winner and can observe the results we have in a full A to Z process of designing a voting mechanism. So this is your chance to take part in this, enroll and register in the study season. And maybe Andrew, Octopus, let's now talk a little bit more about this program, voting mechanism design. So of course, the motivation to run a program like that is that we clearly see something, an element missing in DAO decision making. I mean, we have one token, one vote. So the number of tokens you hold is plays a role in the decision making. Then we have trust. So token holders can delegate their tokens to voters. But what's missing is that we have a signal how experienced, how knowledgeable is a certain decision maker in a certain field. This can be DeFi for DeFi risk management, or this can be token engineering expertise in our ecosystem, or this can be grants distribution and verifying promising projects for DAO retroactive funding and growing the number of successful projects in the ecosystem. So there are many ways to consider and evaluate and account for expertise in DAO decision making. And this was our starting point. And at the moment, I'm working with Octopus on the syllabus. And yeah, Octopus, would you like to share more about what we'll do here?
Yes, I'm very excited about this. So I have training in math, but I'm mostly self-taught as a programmer and data scientist. And lots of times in token engineering, you're playing out of position and you're adapting to new skills on the fly. So I want these sessions to expose people to that idea, give some practice with hard skills in coding and visualization. But there are two soft skills that are very important in being a professional in this, and those are clear communication with clients. So we'll be talking not only about how you gather requirements, but also how can you convince or give information to a client so that they can make a decision effectively and they're not just trusting your expertise. And the second is exploring the space and being willing to think adversarially. So what are the edge cases where something could go wrong and how do you map those out? So my hope is that not only will we discuss the hard skills of like how to write a visualization in Python, but that we'll think about some of the things that are about relationships between experts and decision makers, and how we can effectively communicate the expertise to the decision maker so that it's not really our expertise anymore, it's shared expertise. I think that's the goal.
Yeah, and we already discussed to not only come up with, let's say, an algorithm as one of the outcomes of this program, also with a simulation tool.
This is actually one of the big accomplishments of engineering in the 20th century, was building general purpose flight simulators, so that as you had a new design for an airplane, you could let potential pilots test it out and they could actually get a realistic feel. And so you wouldn't, you could get better information from the potential users. So our goal is to design a voting simulator, and we have to do it because we're going to use it. But, we're going to design a voting simulator where you can put in a voting mechanism of your choice and configurations of your choice, and you see what the final decision would be. So you can see, okay, would I be okay if this were the actual decision under this data? So I'm really excited about thinking in terms of general purpose simulation tools, and how you build those and use those in decision making.
All right.
Can I say something really quickly? Angela, do you mind? I think it's really interesting, speaking about the DAO design, how Octopus, you're saying the way that the information is presented, right? Like all of the different aspects of a DAO, it's gathering that information, presenting it in a way that somebody can actually understand, because like what Mark was saying earlier, it's not like this is knowledge that's easily acquired, right? Like there aren't many resources, there aren't many places you can go to learn the sorts of things that you're learning in token engineering. And so to touch on it from all of these different angles and aspects, I think I just want to say, like, I think it's wonderful, because being a member of a DAO, right, you can see where those sorts of disconnects are. And Mark, you and I have spoken about this previously also, especially in terms of, how do you know that the ones that have the greatest votes and that they have that knowledge, that underlying knowledge to really make the best decisions, right, for that project or the outcome. So I just want to say, I think that this is going to be a really cool course that you guys are doing. And it's going to be nice to see the sort of outcome and the simulations too. It's a very neat concept. I do have a question really fast, Angela, if you don't mind, before you keep going. Jorge is asking, will there be new topics compared to the Token Engineering Academy course of the last year? I know you are having similar speakers, new speakers, but in terms of the specific courses.
Yeah, Jorge, thanks for this question. I guess if you say course last year, you mean TE Fundamentals. This is the bachelor level program online course that's available on TokenEngineering.net, and it covers 5 modules from the initial requirements to the design, to the verification of incentive mechanisms, and then ultimately token-based governance. And the program, the study season, is even better than just new material or topics, because all the topics that we present in the learning sessions we present in the study season are A, yes, new, and B, they are complementary to TE Fundamentals. So if you studied TE Fundamentals, started or even completed TE Fundamentals last year, you have the chance in the study season to build on this knowledge and to grow your knowledge, and to, if you like, focus on particular areas. As I mentioned beforehand, you might have a background in Web 2. Perfect. You might want to come on board to Sherman sessions and explore how to come up and better structure the initial design of a token system. If you have a background in math, then welcome. Come to the voting mechanism design or to Mark sessions. If you have a background or as a programmer and you want to understand how how these mechanism design and the implementation in smart contracts are related, come to Mark's sessions. If you are enthusiastic about DAO voting and DAO decision making, come to the voting algorithm design or come to other sessions that we are currently planning. So there's a lot of opportunities to build on our last course programs, last year T fundamentals, and to grow your knowledge, and then again, even to mint proof of knowledge so that you can make sure you can build on this knowledge as a token designer, as a DAO participant in then your professional career and take it from there.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you, Jorge, for your question. I will bring up the slides then. I think we're ready for those,
Yeah.
right, Angela?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you're all aware of how to register. It's at tokenengineering.net or via the QR code on this slide. And we have a tiny little lottery going on. You can win free EFCC tickets if you register now. Caitlin, I think it's until April 7th. Maybe you would like to share the criteria again.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, the ECC ticket giveaway is something that we're very excited about, especially as we've mentioned before, we're hosting a dedicated token engineering track on July 10th. So the giveaway rules are as follows. So essentially, if you complete these rules by 11:59 p.m. UTC on Sunday, April 7th, you can be entered to win. So the first one, obviously, is to register for the study season program. The second is to go to our X profile, so it's at Token Engineering, to retweet our pinned tweet. You can say you're excited, what you're looking forward to, if there's any particular sessions you can't wait to attend, can be anything, any message. And in addition, tag 3 friends who should join you as well with with registering for the study season program. So those are the rules. They're all on our X account, and we'd be happy to receive any questions about these at contact@tokenengineering.net for email.
All right. I guess it's from my side, Mark. Octopus, would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what you said about people, and I think that the amazing opportunity here is about community building. It's not just about the facts and the curriculum, although I'm sure that will be amazing, but you're going to have an opportunity to actually interact with the other learners, and it always feels like there's something special that happens when there is that sense of just the excitement and the energy of learning something together and being curious together. And I'm really excited to experience that again.
Yeah, I think if it goes anything like it did in 2020, I think let's just talk a little bit about what people can expect from these kinds of things, because I realize that it can be kind of daunting to have someone like me say, look, we're going to talk about exchange mechanisms and smart contract infrastructure and calculus, and there's even going to be some trigonometry in there, which is something that people haven't spoken about in a DeFi context. I'm not sure if it's ever been spoken about, and those can all be like really terrifying concepts. And so I think it does beg the question, what is the appeal? And I think that Octopus has articulated it quite well. This is there's a camaraderie to this. Everyone that shows up to these things has such a diverse background. And I remember in the first sessions that we did, some of the concepts that describe or that are like prerequisite, I say, to the descriptions of things like exchange mechanisms in a blockchain environment. They are so new that basically no one is really an expert. I speak to people that have been actively developing in the space, since the very beginning, And even then, sometimes it's possible that we both end up arriving at concepts that that we need to reevaluate because our confidence may have been overstated, and that we need to sort of return to some fundamental theory every once in a while. And so don't feel like, I don't want anyone to feel unqualified, I think is what I'm trying to drive at here, because in cryptocurrency, everyone is unqualified. It's a new discipline, and in token engineering, the whole idea behind it, the vision that Angela was speaking to at the beginning, is that there should be a way to qualify people, and so this is it. So if you do feel insecure or ill-equipped, or every time there's a new white paper that you find yourself intimidated by some of the things that it's speaking about or the way that they're presented, just know that this is the reason why programs like the one that we're talking about now exist. And so, it does require a little bit of personal responsibility, but all you really need to do is show up and pay attention. And it's a supportive environment. So there is no, I'll do my best to keep the assumed knowledge to a minimum. Obviously, just for efficiency's sake, there's always some level of assumed knowledge. But my office hours are 24/7. Ask anyone. If there's anything that we discuss, anything that is that represents a significant gap in your understanding, and that would be helpful to have addressed in order to process the lecture material better, I will make myself available for you. And we might even set up, refresher sessions and things around the token engineering lecture series to make it as beneficial as possible for anyone who attends. So just know that it's that kind of culture. It's about personal empowerment and making trying to demystify some of these things, and hopefully bring a new wave of critical thought to the space, which is something that we need to keep, rekindling over time. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about it.
Yeah, and I couldn't say it any better. These are kind of people you'll meet at the study season. Curiosity, the motivation to learn, the excitement to learn, to meet other people who are like-minded, who are motivated by the same goals. This is TE Academy, so I hope to see you all. Jen, thanks so much for having us today in this call.
No, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. I do have a question for you. As far as the sessions that are going to be available, the best way we said was to go to the website and to go to Twitter, right?
Right. So the best way is actually to register, because from there we'll provide weekly updates on whatever new speakers on board, overview on the session content, overview on key dates, Google Calendar to make sure you won't miss anything. So, and also how to shape your own personal learning journey. So this will be all the materials we provide. So make sure to register, and we'll equip you with anything you need.
It's so great that everybody could just go and kind of create their own curriculum, depending on what their real interests are, right? I think that's just such a great way to go about doing this. Thank you guys so much for joining me here. It's a wonderful initiative, and I hope you see a wonderful turnout. And if I am at ETHCC, or if anybody is at ETHCC, I definitely recommend going and meeting Angela, meeting everyone from Token Engineering, listening to the sessions and things that they'll have going there as well. Angela and Caitlin, thank you so much. Octopus Mark, you guys have been a pleasure. Anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to any one of the speakers. I think we all stream to our own devices. And thank you to all of the viewers as well. We'll see you guys next time, hopefully, and we'll have you back. Let's have you back, and we'll kind of talk a little bit maybe during the sessions.
Absolutely. Will be a pleasure. Okay. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jen.
See you at the study season.